Naaman had great expectations. After all, he was a great and mighty man. He was the commander of all the armies of Syria. The earth trembled beneath his feet. When he spoke, even kings would listen to him. He demanded the utmost respect, and no one dared to displease him. The only thing he had no control over was his skin disease, his leprosy. But now he hears of a great prophet who can cure him. This is great news, so he heads out to find this prophet. Naaman heads off to Samaria with great expectations. Yet first he will be disappointed. Can you picture the great Naaman arriving at the place where the prophet Elisha lives? Picture the great warrior arriving on a grand chariot, escorted by soldiers on horses, a parade of power. You could have probably seen him coming from miles away as this impressive convoy kicked up the dust as it rolled along. And as he arrived, no doubt there was a blowing of trumpets to announce him, a fanfare of sight and sound, a truly impressive sight. But it stops at the door of disappointment. First of all, Elijah's dwelling was certainly no castle. It was probably a very, very humble place. Is this the place where the great Naaman is to be received? And then there is no prophet to be seen. Elijah chooses not to come out and greet his guest. Surely Naaman expected to be greeted as a king. Shouldn't the prophet be catering to his every need? Shouldn't he be overwhelmed to be visited by such a great and powerful man? Shouldn't he be seeking Naaman's favor with words of adoration and servitude? Where is he? Elisha never does come out to greet Naaman. Instead, he sends out a messenger. This lowly prophet Elijah sends out an even more lowly servant to meet Naaman. Naaman is not only disappointed, he is becoming angry. How dare this prophet treat me this way? And it gets worse. The messenger tells Naaman to go out and wash yourself in the Jordan 7 times. What? He didn't come all this way to wash in the Jordan River. It's a crummy river in a crummy place. Commentaries describe the Jordan River's water as a dirty brown color and not at all a beautiful stream. But that's not Naaman's only problem. He wants a real prophet, a prophet that looked like he just stepped out of a whirlwind, a prophet who looks extraordinary, out of this world. He wants Dumbledore. And he wants his prophet to look up into the sky and summon down the power of God. He wants to be cured by thunder and lightning, by a beam of bright light, colored smoke. He wants there to be a sign in the heavens that announces the great day of his healing. Wash in the Jordan River 7 times? Naaman is insulted. I don't want or need your stinking river. In a rage, he mounts his chariot and rides away, extremely angry and extremely disappointed. Yet eventually cooler heads prevail, and later that day Naaman is persuaded to step into the pitiful Jordan River. Perhaps the pain and suffering in his life, the agony and isolation of his condition had made him ready to try just about anything. Somehow his heart softens, he swallows his pride, and climbs in and out of the water 7 times. And suddenly his flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was made clean. He quickly returns to Elisha and proclaims faith in the God of Israel. God is revealed, and Naaman is made whole in the Jordan River. Naaman is cured and made whole by giving up his great expectations and submitting to the ordinary. In an ordinary river, in the ordinary activity of bathing, he finds the healing that he so desperately wants and needs. And more importantly, he discovers God not high on a mountain, not in signs in the heavens, not in thunder and lightning, not in a supernatural event, but in the ordinary. Naaman must step out of his extraordinary life and into everyday life to find himself in the presence of God. So what do you expect? We all have our problems, our burdens, our brokenness, our agony, and our isolation. We all have a need to be healed and made whole. Do we want God to heal us? Do we expect God to touch us? Or have we long given up on that ever happening? Have we been let down, greatly disappointed over the years? When we come to church, does everything seem too ordinary to make a difference in our lives? We look around and we see ordinary people who are broken just like us. How are these people going to help you? We walk past water from the Jordan lying motionless in the baptismal font, and we know that it's just water that was bought at H-E-B. Water that ought to be changed because it's a little dirty in there sometimes. On the altar, there's some bread and wine. Actually, it's sitting back there right now. It's good bread. We all love that Hawaiian bread, but it's a national brand. And I bought it at Walmart this morning. There's nothing supernatural about that. It's not like manna from heaven that we gathered up and put on the altar. And then there's the preacher. Well, that's a whole other subject. We won't get into that one. Surely there's nothing going on here that's going to drastically change your life. There's no heavenly chorus of angels. It's just another day at church. Perhaps just like Naaman, we have such great and lofty expectations that we can't imagine God being present and active in such humble, even humiliating settings like this. And when we don't see great and magnificent things happening, we too, like Naaman, get insulted and disappointed, and we give up, and we just walk away. If God is not going to act like God, look like God, thunder and lightning like God, then we're just not interested. Thanks, but no thanks. We walk away disappointed, and maybe even angry. Yet today, the good news is suggesting to us that there might be more going on here than meets the eye. The word urges us not to be too quick to judge. Naaman's servants quietly suggest to him, I know it's not a great river, but maybe the Jordan River will do the trick. Let's at least give it a try. What do you got to lose? Today, the word whispers to us, dip your finger into the water. Take the bread and the wine. Open up to your brothers and sisters. What do you have to lose? Perhaps we limit God by forcing God to be big and grand, so supernatural and beyond. Maybe God is more ordinary. Maybe God is waiting for us in this simple place, in some everyday things and everyday people. In today's gospel, the 10 lepers are healed as they turn and go to the priests. As they act upon the word, God touches their life. Maybe if we acted in the ordinary when it comes to our faith, things would change. Maybe if we stuck our fingers into the waters of baptism, the motionless water would begin to move and turn into a living water and remind us that we are loved, that we belong, and that we have gifts and talents to contribute to life. And maybe if we really let ourselves touch and taste the bread and the wine, we might find ourselves in God's presence. We might find God reaching out to us. Maybe if we stop just going through the motions with no expectations, the bread and wine might reveal God to us. And just maybe these sacraments create a community in which holy people, ordinary people, become holy instruments of peace and love. And just maybe if we share our joys and our struggles with each other, we might be made healed, whole. Maybe we would discover the new creation, the gift of life that is in us. People often stop by my office to talk about their struggles. I listen, I offer words of encouragement, I pray with them, and then I tell them how they might begin to be made whole. I tell them to come to church, to get involved in the activities of campus ministry. I encourage them to open up and share their lives with other believers. But less than half of them ever follow through and get involved with worship and fellowship. I guess they want to do something more dramatic. Sometimes I wonder if I told people in order to be cured of their pain, to be set free from their struggles, that in order to hear God's voice, the answer to their prayers, they must drive up to Fredericksburg, climb to the top of Enchanted Rock while reciting the Lord's Prayer, and leave a love offering on the top of the mountain, I think a higher percentage of people would follow that advice. They might better fit our expectations. We just don't expect or want God to act in and through the ordinary. But God does. Like it or not, God says to us, go take a bath in the Jordan River or the mighty Guadalupe. Ugh. So today, give up your great expectations. Humble yourself and step into the ordinary, into the realm of God, and find your salvation. That's the good news. You don't have to climb a holy mountain, for God is here in dirty water, in bread and wine, in ordinary people like you and me. We don't have to become supernatural to be Christians. We just need to be human. God is just so ordinary. And for that, we give thanks. Amen.